Welcome to Love Amanda. My next guest is an international pageant coach. He is king of the crown. Let's welcome Cyrus Frakes to the podcast.
Amanda, it is so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You are just as fabulous as I expected.
Well, good. I try not to disappoint people.
Never. You look great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. You are a rock star here in town and internationally. And that did get started with King of the Crown.
Okay.
And so you did mention you're coming up on, I think, your 15th anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we only had, we had 2 seasons. We had 13 episodes. It took 4 months to film. And then, of course, a couple of months to edit, but then it ran almost 7 months. But then streaming came along, so it's been streaming for the last 14 years. So it doesn't really feel like it's been that long. But yeah, it was 15 years ago, this coming September. But it was definitely one of those, I don't know, I guess a kismet thing that really changed the trajectory of my life, because I was doing something completely different. I always did pageants. I was always involved in pageants, but it was a side hustle. It was not a full-time career. And then I'd made enough of a name for myself that I lucked up into landing a reality show that was just about us. It wasn't about a bunch of pageant coaches or a bunch of pageant things. It was just about us. And it really kind of put us on the map. And so I was in radio full time. And so I retired from radio, and I've been doing this for the last 20 years. I've been involved with pageants since I was in high school, but I've had my own studio for 20 years. We actually celebrate our 20th anniversary this coming February of having our Gowns and Crowns studio, which is now called the Gowns and Crowns Academy.
Wow, congratulations. So 2 big anniversaries coming up. And that's what I was going to say, to have a show based on your life, right. You had to be doing something big.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily that we were doing anything big. I just know when they stumbled across us, I think they were kind of like, this could be the one. This could be the one to make TV. Because when we met the actual, producers with, I think it was High Five Productions, I was found by Discovery Entertainment. And they were the ones who developed the show, and then it was sold to TLC. So TLC the TLC saw the pilot, and then they requested 13 episodes, which equaled at that time 2 seasons. So, but it was just enough to put us on the map. It was just enough to make us funny and professional without getting us in trouble. Because sometimes when reality shows go on and on and on, they want you to be more outrageous, and they want you to be more this, and they want you to be more that. And I was very happy with what our 13 episodes said about pageantry and what it said about us. But it did lead to other things. I ended up on another reality show called The Week the Women Went. Being myself, that was a thing that they did on WeTV, and they sent all the women out of town. They interviewed 250 towns in the country, and they picked Yemassee, South Carolina, to film this reality show. But they sent all the women out of town on a cruise, all the women, for 2 weeks, and the men had to run the town. And in the middle of them doing this, there was the local beauty pageant. And so at first they were going to not do it, and then they were like, oh no, we're going to do it. The men are going to have to get the girls ready for this pageant. So that was a whole nother experience. And then I met a producer there who actually moved on to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And then anybody who's familiar with that show knows that Cynthia Bailey was originally discovered in a beauty pageant when she was like 15. And then the rest was history. She was in New York like a year later. Yeah. So she wanted to do her own show. As part of the show, she wanted to do her own pageant. And so this producer said, we know who can help you do this. And so when I went to meet her, at first I thought I was just going to be showing her how to do all this. But then they called and they were like, Cynthia really wants you to be in the show to do this. Wow. And I was like,
Cynthia is...
Oh, she's the bomb.
The best.
She's incredible. And so genuine and so warm and authentic and friendly. And she was so gracious to me, because not a lot scares me, but I was really intimidated because when I filmed that show, they were the #1 show on Bravo. So that was just intimidating. The night I met all the housewives at one time, I met them at Candy's Tags opening in Atlanta. I like I said, I don't normally get nervous, but I was so nervous that night. And Cynthia was like, "You're going to be fine."
Oh, I bet. And I can see her saying it just like that.
We were standing in the parking lot before they mic'd us. And she said, "Are you ready for this?" And I said, "Yeah, if I have to be honest." I said, "I'm really nervous." And she was like, "You're going to be fine. You'll be fine." She said, "They will love you."
Oh, I love hearing that about people because she's, she seems like the sweetest, but I've never personally met her.
Well, Amanda, in any business, that's one thing I would like to say. You make a very great point. You make a lot of good points in your podcast. So
Thank you.
But you make a really good point. I think as a society, we tend to point out the negatives that people do, or we like to talk about the things that weren't so nice or this, and we don't really emphasize when people really are great and they are gracious. And she is. And I think it's important for people to know that.
That's so nice. Yeah, that's so true. We don't really ever talk about the good things.
No, we want to be like, girl, what's the tea?
Yeah. So how many episodes were you on the Real Housewives of Atlanta?
That was, we filmed for 2 weeks off and on until it led up to the big pageant. But I ended up being in 2 minor, like I was introduced in 2 smaller episodes. And then I got a whole episode that was just me and the pageant and Cynthia and the chaos that was. Because, like I told
I have to watch it back.
Yeah. Like I told the producers of our show, they were like, we want this, we want that. I'm like, you don't have to create drama. It's a pageant. It comes with built-in drama. And after the very first time we went and filmed a pageant, we were all having a talk session and everything. And they were like, well, one thing you weren't lying about was it comes with its own built-in drama.
What's been the craziest story that you have in this pageant world?
The craziest story in the pageant world for me is from 2007. And most people will know who this is. They just probably won't recognize that it came from a pageant situation. Well, it was a pageant situation, but she was from South Carolina. So one of our most infamous clients was Katie Upton. And she was the teenager from South Carolina who completely bombed her onstage question at Miss Teen USA. And on YouTube, she became an overnight sensation. And most people refer to her as the Map Girl or the And Such As Girl. And for those who don't know, all you have to type in is Katie Upton, a Teen Miss South Carolina USA 2007 in the video. Actually, all you have to do is type up pageants, and it's the very top thing that will come up.
And I know what you're talking about just by saying that.
And it was unfortunate what happened to her, but it launched her career. She ended up moving to California. She ended up becoming the face of Charlotte Russe. She ended up modeling. Wow. She ended up being in a few TV shows. She ended up being in music videos and everything. And what made her so exceptional, and the reason, like, oh, you're going to point out this thing that was a disaster for this teenager. Yes, because she was so resilient and she bounced back. I know a lot of people would never, ever have shown their face again. The next day she was on the Today Show talking about the whole experience.
Yeah.
And not every girl that I worked with, well, first of all, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But if it had to happen to somebody, it did happen to a girl who was resilient enough to bounce back from it. It's not to say she didn't have complications down the road and that there were some things that, she needed to work on to help her feel better about herself. Yeah. But at the end of the day, she taught us all a very important lesson. It's not what life throws at you, it's how you handle it. And she handled it like a rock star. I was in her wedding. She's now married. She has 2 wonderful little boys, and she's still just as beautiful as always.
I'm so happy to hear that. And that, she didn't go the other route where she never wanted to speak in public again, because that could easily happen.
She embraced it. She really did. She really did embrace it.
Like a queen.
I actually have to give her credit for, I know a lot of what we did, I was able to get the show. When they came across me, I know we were enough for them to be interested to talk to us about the show. But when they found out about Caitlin, they were like, can you get her to do the pilot? And I was like, what do you mean? They were like, do you think because she never did another pageant after that. Oh. But Teen USA is like the pinnacle the top pinnacle, or is one of the top pinnacles for teens. Because we also have Tess Firm, who is Miss America's teen right now. So she represented South Carolina at the national pageant, and she won, and that's a really huge deal. But Teen USA is a really huge deal also. And, she won it. And that was kind of, she goes, didn't exactly go the way I wanted it to go, but I was there. And she made top 5. Oh, wow. And she still got second runner up. Which there were other girls who were in the top 5 who were not real happy with that.
I bet.
Yeah. But that meant the judges still loved her. One of the judges approached me at the after party, because when you go to the after party with these teens and their families, the judges are there. And when I had her badge on, and one of the judges came up to me and they were like, "You're with her?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Just FYI, let her know we still tried to crown her. It's just, we couldn't get it's just the judges panel." The judges panel was in mixed reviews about how they felt about the way her question went down. We all know that can happen. We also know she's a teenager, but he said not everybody on the panel didn't want her to win.
Yeah.
So, but they did crown a really, I think, I want to say Wisconsin, but I can't remember. But they did crown a really good girl who went on to be, Miss Teen USA. And then Caitlin went on to be famous in her own right as the map girl. So when you talk to me, out of all the big wins I've had, when you talk about the most kind of extraordinary thing that happened, it was like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
Because it happened on national television, and there was no hiding from it.
Right.
I
feel scared for her in that moment.
Oh yeah. Every podcast, every press tour I've been on, everywhere I've been, even when I go to places that don't know, they somehow have done research, and they'll go, "So let's talk about the girl who," I was like, okay, we can talk about her.
Wow. But yeah, it's not a bad thing.
But when you look at it, where you'll have 10 people who'll go, "Oh my gosh, that was terrible," or "She was dumb," or "It was this, that, and the other." No, Pageant's taught her how to stand on that stage and handle that moment, is what Pageant's taught her. Yeah. So,
Wow. I'm sure you've traveled all over the world with beauty queens, and
all the way to the Philippines.
Really?
Yeah. I've been all over the United States, but we've been to the Philippines. We've been to the UK. Yeah. It's definitely been a journey. It really has.
I bet. And I'm sure you've been there for these girls in their personal life as well, because you're spending so much time with them. Did you ever have to give them other type of advice, like boy advice or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Boys are a liability. When you're a pageant girl, boys are a liability. Because you're going to end up...
Yeah, tell me why.
Well, so let's say a girl has a boyfriend. They're going to be one of 3 boys. They're going to be a boy that's too involved, like too opinionated, I'm like, okay, for you to be a baseball player, you seem to know a lot about evening gowns and high heel shoes. So, you got that boy. Then you have the boy that doesn't care. He goes off and does his thing. I like this boy. Mm-hmm. He goes and does his thing. She goes and does her thing. But then you have the boy that is so opposed to her doing it, he makes it miserable for her the whole time that she's trying to do this. "I don't know why you have to get up there and everybody look at you."
Yeah.
Well, dude, it's because it's called a pageant.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Or why are you wearing that?
Yeah, why are you wearing that? I don't like that you're wearing a swimsuit. I don't like that you're wearing heels. I don't like that you're, this is clearly not the right person for you.
Right, because that's something they enjoy doing.
And they do.
So having to deal with that constantly can
I
get
had
old.
a girl, when you talk about managing things, yes. So this is a phone call that I got one night. We had spent 8 months getting ready for this big state pageant. We took a bunch of girls to the state pageant. I had just shown up to the hotel, and I get a phone call from one of the girls, and she's had a complete meltdown. So this is day 1 of a 3-day pageant, because the boyfriend broke up with her right as she was leaving to go to the pageant.
Of course.
Yeah. I wish... I don't like to I wish things on him.
I would love to have you in my corner.
Yes.
For sure.
I said, first of all, you're in high school. Mm-hmm. This boy does not matter. He matters at the moment.
I know.
He matters at the moment. But we go all the way up to Mrs. Contestants. And you get some girls that are Mrs. Contestants who's, their husband's standing up there in a tuxedo escorting them, but they have made it miserable all the way to that point.
How old are they in the misses?
Well, people always say, what age group do you work? I do from the womb to the tomb. So we do the little ones. But I just had a lady that made top 10 at Mrs. Senior America.
Stop. I didn't even know.
Yeah. Well, you just have to be old enough to be married. So what is that? In our country, that's like 18. And that like
Exactly.
Well, you hope it's like 18.
Yeah.
It's like 18 and up.
Wow.
Now, that's an interesting question because when it comes to a Mrs. division, it's such a hard spread because you literally can end up with a 45-year-old woman competing against a 22-year-old. You just the prerequisite is you just have to be married.
Yeah. Oh,
You know.
wow. I can only imagine.
So yeah,
So with the boy advice, what would you say to...
boys are a liability. Let's speak. I want to be very clear that when we go into this, you need to sit them down and have a conversation with them because this is important to you. And usually that works, but like I said, you end up with those boys that are completely opposed. Well, it's anything. They don't want them cheering because the skirts are too short, or they don't want them dancing because they're gone every weekend. It's just, first of all, it's a boyfriend, not a husband, and you're in high school. You should be doing all the things that make you happy, But like I said, the number one thing is educate them on why it's important to you, or give them permission not to be there. Don't get your feelings hurt because your boyfriend didn't come. There's nothing for him to do but sit in the audience. Your mom and dad and your friends who really care about your well-being will be there to support you. But, even if you have a boy that's just, doesn't mean he doesn't love you, but if he's not interested, don't hold a gun to his head and make him sit there and watch you do this.
Yes, exactly.
On the other end, it's like, okay, mama, what kind of boys are you raising? Because these boys should want to be supportive of their girlfriends. That's the way I
know.
I look at it. But I'm the same way. A lot of my friends are interested in stuff and they're like, don't you want to buy a ticket? And I'll buy a ticket to support you, but I'm not going to come because I don't want to sit there. So I get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll buy a ticket and support you. I just don't want to have to sit there and be a part of that because I'm not interested in that.
Yeah. And listen, if they're not, okay, go do your thing and we'll meet afterwards.
Right. Yes. Yes. And that's exactly the way it is. But that's the advice I give them. Educate them, but also give them permission not to be present and not be mad at them for that, because you'd rather that than them be there making you miserable, because you're there. Your whole focus has to be on winning. Yeah. If we're not there focused on winning, we have no shot at winning.
Right. Getting broken up with right before you're going.
Yeah.
How is that going to affect them?
Yes. And you're not going to tell me that wasn't on purpose or deliberate or whatever. But like I said, we're all human beings and we make mistakes. Well, like when we were talking about Caitlyn earlier, we've all stuck our foot in our mouth.
Yeah.
I think the people who were
live.
I think, even when they introduced her on the Today Show, they were like, every one of us has stuck our foot in our mouth on this show. Yeah. That's nice. They were just, but it is, whether you were in front of a group of people or your parents, we've all been there where you've done something that you couldn't walk back.
Right.
And you just had to own it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she did that with grace.
Yeah, like a superstar.
Exactly.
Like a superstar. Now, I've also known girls who have won their pageant and then broke up with their boyfriend. So it is sometimes. It can go both ways. It is sometimes like a two-way street. I've seen some of these guys just shattered because I was like, what's wrong with your boyfriend? And she goes, oh, I just kind of went ahead and told him it was over since he was here. Oh, okay.
Oh, wow, while he was there.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I won the crown. Yeah, you got to go.
That was a thought. That was a decision. You were basing that decision on whether you won or not. I also think it a lot. I talk about teenagers. It's really not just teenagers. The stakes are high when you win a pageant and you're going to Miss USA or you're going to Miss America, because the boy also knows that if they've dated for 3 or 4 years and this girl were to win the national title, they're going to be gone for a year. They're going to travel for a year. Do you get to see them? Yes, but you don't get to travel with them. You can travel to where they are and you can be a part of where they are, but you're not there as their boyfriend or significant other, or and a lot of the girls are engaged. You can be engaged now. Back in the day, if you were engaged, you never told anybody. Now,
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to be prepared for that and actually still want to support me, even though I might be gone for a year.
Oh, and there's a lot of boys. Listen, they'll throw the gauntlet down. We had a girl, it wasn't our girl, but it was a girl who won Miss USA a couple of years ago. And at her third appearance, he gets down on one knee and proposes to her at her event that she's at as Miss USA. And I'm just like, I have mixed feelings about that because number one, I think, yes, it's great. You did it while she was Miss USA. It's just, here's a ring to say, I love you. Go have a great year. But if I were a girl and I were Miss USA, I would not want my engagement to be wrapped around that. I would want it to be its own thing. It's like when people ask other people to marry them on a birthday or Christmas. I'm like, no, let their birthday and Christmas be a thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's don't drag that into what we're doing.
Right.
Do not drag my engagement into my Christmas present.
Yeah, just let them know.
Let's make that I want to make this clear. I want that to be a whole separate thing.
Yes, exactly. And God forbid things go bad. You don't want a reminder all the time.
On Christmas.
At Christmas,
yes. Let's pick a random month that nobody cares about.
Exactly.
So
I feel like, what would that be?
Like if it goes
September.
south. Yeah.
So I have a little game for you.
Oh, gosh. Here we go. Okay.
It's called, Is He Coachable?
Is he coachable? Okay.
So I thought it'd be pretty fitting for you. Now, okay, let's see. Shows up to a date on time, but dressed like he forgot. Is that coachable?
No. I'm going to have to say no based on my lifestyle. I've had boys show up like that.
Yeah.
Based
on your lifestyle, I would think they would get even more dressed up for you.
Oh, no.
That's shocking.
I'm like, oh, wow. That, okay. Are we going to run by your house and change on the way
Yeah,
out
that's
or something?
shocking.
So, see, these will be kind of good for me. A question like that's good for me because I can identify with the girl when the boy shows up and they're dressed,
Exactly.
Or you invite somebody, like for me, I invited somebody to the ballet. And they showed up in a t-shirt and jeans. And I'm like, okay, well, you can't wear that to the ballet.
Yeah. But maybe they just didn't know.
So I say
guess.
no.
Okay.
No.
I know. I'm always playing devil's advocate.
Well, and that's the other thing too. You would, look up the ballet. Ask your mom. Ask friends. What do people wear when
if you care enough.
Yeah. Ask me. You can ask me.
Right.
But if they don't want to ask me, but apparently I intimidate people. So
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, you had a whole show based on
I had somebody on a date.
critical opinions.
I had somebody after a date one time. We agreed to go out again, and I texted them after like 2 weeks because I heard nothing. And I said, because we did. I thought we really had a good time. And I said, hey, I thought we were going to go out again, blah, 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 blah. I said, I really enjoyed having time. And he said, I know. He said, I think you're a great guy. He goes, you're just a lot. I was like, you know what? Go find less.
Mic drop.
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, back to your question. I say no. I say if it's a first date or you're going somewhere specific, I think it is your responsibility as a guy to do your homework and figure out how you should be dressed. Mm-hmm. But I will warn every girl, if he shows up in Crocs and shorts and a t-shirt now, he's going to be showing up in thing the rest of his life.
Oh yeah. If it's like that for the first date.
Yes.
That's
true. That's the first thing. If you're going to the lake, that's not a problem.
Yes.
But most people are going to go to a nice dinner. But that's just a whole nother podcast. I just feel like we live in a society now where people don't dress up anymore, or they don't want to. I think you look stunning tonight.
Thank you so much. I dressed up for you.
You did. You said, I wore this just for you. And I was
Truly.
Like, this is incredible. This is beautiful.
And doesn't that make you feel special? I did it for you.
Yes.
So yeah, when you want to dress up for someone on a date, it shows that you really care. You're looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you were also like, he's not going to say anything about me.
Yeah, not today.
We're going to check that box right now. We're going to check that box right now. But yeah, I think, no, not coachable. Not to me. Not coachable.
Okay, confident online, but acts awkward in person.
Okay, but no.
Totally different.
Hate that. I've been the victim of that. So I got divorced in 2018. Mm-hmm. So now I'm having to navigate the whole new dating thing. Mm-hmm. So, 12 years ago when I met my ex-husband, I met them through a mutual friend. Mm-hmm. It was great. Love at first sight. Great. I don't regret any of it. We're actually still really, really good friends. It just didn't pan out the way I thought it would. Well, now I'm having to navigate cyber dating or whatever you call it, where you have to do apps and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, and I get that a lot. People are a lot more confident in an app. They're a lot more confident in text messages. They're a lot more confident. And then you meet them in person and they're like, duh, duh.
So that happened to you twice?
Twice.
And yeah. And that's true because people are hiding behind the phones and it's a little easier to talk
And I'm
to
not
someone.
talking, and I'm just like so painfully uncomfortable. I'm like, okay, where's the person that was texting me? You look like your photo.
Okay.
Now that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole.
Yeah,
that
wasn't on the list. But
that's a whole nother thing. So I started out. I do Hinge now, but I started out on Match.
Okay.
I started out on Match, and I'm like, and you're getting like, you get the ding, and it's like, my name is Carl. I'm 40, and I like to fish. Okay, Carl, with your one blurry photo. Clearly, you did not look at the 385 photos I uploaded of myself to see that we are not a match. It's just, what were you reading that
He wasn't reading anything. He just saw how handsome you were.
I don't know. Match was not. Hinge has been a little bit better. Because
what's the difference between Match and Hinge?
Hinge is, it's all authenticated. So like you have to verify they won't do it if you don't have a correct birthday. They verify your photograph. They verify, everything's verified. So you know that the people you were, meet. I'm sure they don't have to list on there that they're a serial killer, but
Right, but at least their age is correct.
Yeah, their age is correct and their picture is correct, because it's easy to get catfished on stuff like that, Or we talk about hatfished, like boys who look hot or men who look hot in a photo and then they take their hat off and they're bald.
Stop it right now. Hatfish.
Hatfished.
I didn't even know that existed.
That's a thing.
Did you make that up?
No. One of my friends, when he went out a date one time and he came back and he goes, I took off my hat and they literally said, you hatfished me. He said,
sometimes guys look cuter with it off. Sometimes they look better with the hat on too.
Oh, what is it? Is it HOB? Hat on backwards. They look better with their hat on backwards than they do with, and they just look great with a hat on backwards. I don't know why that's.
Oh, that is hysterical. Hatfished.
Bald doesn't bother me. That never bothered me, but it's like, if you're bald, be bald in your photos so that people aren't surprised.
Yeah.
Some guys are hot bald, some are not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I say if you're getting to the point where you're bald, just shave it off. You know what I'm saying?
I have a friend. I have a really
to?
good friend. He's a PA and he's hot bald. I was like, if you had hair, you should shave your hair off, because I'm like, damn.
Yeah, some guys just have the head for it.
Yeah, and he's tall and he's got all the savoir faire and everything to go with it. It's like nobody cares whether you have hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then my poor other little friend, he needs a hat. But yeah,
that's hysterical.
But yeah, confidence and so. That's just a hard one because you want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and maybe they were just nervous on the first date, but if it's continually not the same person that you thought.
Now, if you talk crap and then you can't live up to it. There's one thing about being confident and then you're bashful in person, but when you're talking smack and then you can't live up to that in person, no, that's not coachable.
Yeah, you need someone that can live up to that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need a talker.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I need a talker. I need somebody who's confident in who they are and what they do. So,
and not everyone has to be confident in order to be date worthy, but at least if you started with that shyness, we could work with that.
Yes.
You're not trying to be someone else.
Exactly. Well, I had somebody reach out to me on Instagram. And we ended up talking for a while. And the first thing he said, are you single? And I said, yeah. And he said, I knew you were married. And I said, yeah. I said that.
How did he know?
Yeah. How did he know I was married?
Yeah.
Because I put everything on Instagram.
Oh,
yeah. It wasn't like
because he went through.
It wasn't like a secret. Okay. It wasn't like a secret marriage.
No, I mean, I guess he went through your profile and took the time.
Well, too, I was a public figure.
Right.
And so when I got married, our wedding was very public. So it was like everybody knew.
You can Google it.
Yeah, but it was like, are you one of those people that like when you see somebody all of a sudden, the person that they've been in picture, like they're showing up in pictures by themselves and then everything's a selfie. That's kind of the way my Instagram went. So that's kind of,
something changed.
Yeah. And he said, are you single? And I said, I am. He said, well, I wasn't sure because I knew you were married. And he said, I'm really nervous to talk to you. Well, that was a great way to start because I knew that. Yeah, I said, well, don't be nervous. I said, I have two arms and eyes like everybody else, know. So it ended up being a nice friendship. It really wasn't a love match, but it's been kind of a nice friendship. So
that's wonderful. Yeah. And it's kind of like how you were with Cynthia Bailey, how she said, don't be nervous.
Yep.
It just eases it after that
Oh,
also.
listen, you can't not be confident after being around her. She's just, to me, she's just an icon and deserves all the success she gets.
I know. Oh, I hope she watches this. What about talking about the ex too much?
That's probably what I do.
As I said that, I thought that.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Because I've already mentioned him twice in here. But listen, he and I actually do a podcast together from time to time too. And it's just, and that's even funnier. If I were on a date, I would make an effort not to mention him unless somebody brought him up. But one of my friends brought it up, I guess about a couple of months ago. They were like, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yeah." And they were like, "Is it weird dating because you're still friends with your ex?" And I'm like, "It's not like I take him with me." They were like, "Well, I still see current pictures of you pop up." And they said, "Do you think that when you post those on social media that deters people from talking to you?"
That was one of my questions for you too later on. But yeah, how has that been, being friends with your ex and dating? Do people feel insecure?
And ours
about
is
that?
different. Ours was different. People date and they break up. Mine was an ex-husband, and we were together for almost 12 years, or we were married for 8.
It's a long time.
Good years. And ours wasn't when some big meltdown at the end. It just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. And he's a great makeup artist too. Don't ever kick your makeup artist to the curb.
Yeah, he did your makeup before you got here, didn't he?
Yes, he came. He was here, and I said, "I'm going to do this podcast with this really beautiful woman, and I don't want to sit next to her and look like the crypt keeper. So I need your help."
How sweet is that?
Yeah, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "I got you." Yeah, he's like, "You're good." But he's great. But the other thing is too, he and I worked in the business together. Even this is where I guess just being an adult and I'm older, obviously older. He's the best, and I would not let my personal situation with him deny my girls the opportunity to use him, because I want them to have the best. And he's great. He's super great. There's a lot of great makeup artists out there, but he's the top of I've worked with a lot over the years. He's the top of the line.
Oh, I believe it.
And so I can't brag enough about that. But yes, I think that's coachable.
Okay.
Here's all you would have to do to me. If for some reason I were talking about my ex too much, I would just want them to look at me and say, "You do realize you talk about your ex a lot, right?" Oh, you know what? That would clear that up right there.
Right. And exactly. Maybe they just need to be told.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. But I think I've talked a lot about him in here because this is the right setting for him, because he's part of what we do in the pageant land. But since you asked it on there, I was like, The minute you asked it, I was like, trying to think if I said anything on...
But that makes sense. And you're still supporting each other, which is so beautiful.
And he's beautiful. Yeah, that's what I think more people are intimidated by than anything.
He's so beautiful.
He's beautiful. He's very handsome. He's very masculine and very handsome. And a lot of people are like, "Why did y'all divorce?"
Well, good. Then step up,
Yeah, listen. That's it. Yeah. And, listen, looks are looks.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. He's a looker. Yeah.
Well, and so are you.
Oh, well, thank you.
So
Thank you.
you deserve that, okay? What about if they flirt with other people in front of you?
That's a no-go. I don't know if that's not coachable. Some people are naturally flirty. See, I've been accused of that.
Yeah.
I've been accused of that. I think even my ex accused me of that, because
Really?
I'm just very social and very friendly, and I love to go out and I like to talk to other people. And I think maybe I'm maybe a little too touchy. Like when I talk to people,
So am I.
like when you first came up, I hugged you. And then when I talked to you, I felt like I needed to put my hand on your arm. That's just the way I am. But that's also, and that type of body language by some people is interpreted very differently.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. But I feel like when I'm flirting with someone, you'll know.
You'll know. Oh, yeah. I would like to think they know,
Yeah.
And there's a meme out there about don't interpret my niceness for flirting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to see that.
Oh, I've had people before tell me, they were like, "You don't have to flirt with me." I'm like, "I'm not flirting with you. I'm just..."
But you were so social, so I can see that about you,
I am.
for sure.
Yeah. So I have to be, for me, to answer that question, so that's a no-go if you're dating somebody and they are flirting with other people. Just make sure you're not misinterpreting that they have a social personality.
Yeah.
Because it makes you jealous that
Right.
they're talking
Right.
to other people. But for me personally, yeah, I've been on the receiving end of that because I am very social when I go out
Yeah.
and everything. Because everybody's like, you and your friends are all huggy touchy, and I'm like, well, sorry.
Yeah,
I don't.
because you love each other.
Yeah, and like I said, people don't express their feelings anymore. I just, listen,
Well, don't ever change.
you only get one shot at this life. And, I don't want to go through it, not being that way or not. Even if I do have a thing that hangs in my studio and it says, love your friends to the point they're uncomfortable. And because that's it,
Oh,
I want them to be uncomfortable because at the end of the day, they can go home. You know what? No one else on the planet might love me, but Cyrus does.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a beautiful thing, how you show your love too.
Yeah.
So never change.
Trying not to be jaded. Trying not to let the world jade me.
Right. It's true. What about if someone, let's say you're talking to someone and they just constantly make everything about them when you're trying to tell your story?
Yeah, I do that. Unfortunately, you're going to have to ask somebody. No. So I've always been a talker, and my mom sat me down when I was in high school, and this is no lie. She was like, she taught me how to be a listener. She said, you have to listen. She said, you don't always listen.
Really?
Yeah.
And so what did she do? Make you sit there and just
No,
listen?
she just pointed it out.
Oh.
Yeah. My mom was never a big person to give advice or anything like that. She was like, as long as you're not doing anything, but every now and then, she would
sit you down.
Yeah, she would
By
sit
the
me down.
way,
Yeah,
you talk
it's so
too
funny
much,
that you should
Cyrus.
Because that was the first that when you said that was the first thing that came to mind was when my mom sat me down and she was like, you need to learn to listen. I said, what are you talking about? She said, well, I see you with your friends and you talk over your friends.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay. And I wasn't offended.
That's great.
I loved my mom. I had a great relationship with my mom. But yeah, and I don't always do that. I do try to be a good listener. But no, every now and then you meet somebody and,
Well, you have a lot of great stories.
Well, great example of that, bringing it back to the pageant thing. I'll have a girl in class and their mom wants to tell me the whole time about their pageant career 30 years ago. And I'm like, okay. I said this in my TV show one time. I was like, this is pageant class, not history class. So I'm like, we need to, we're trying to focus on,
Wrap it up.
We're trying to focus on baby girl here. Can you find a can you find a resolution to this ongoing story? So, but it's true.
Hysterical.
But it's true. But that's a great example where it's not necessarily on a date, but it happens in class, and the girl is just sitting there going, "Mom."
Yeah. Well, 30 years ago, Mom was, doing
Mom.
it big.
Oh, and Mom's still a looker.
I bet.
Yeah, listen, these moms today are no joke.
I bet. Oh, you would love my mom.
Yeah,
we'll talk later.
I have to meet her.
Oh,
Yeah.
you guys would love each other.
I feel like we're gonna
I love how all these things you're saying. I do that. Well, this is the last
at least
one.
I'm honest, because here's the thing. I'm not going to lie in this podcast and then have to go out with my friends and then listen to them all go, that was BS, Cyrus. You do this and you do this and you do this. Because if I don't, they'll go, when this is posted, they'll go under it and call me out anyway. So I may as well go ahead and just.
They're going to have nothing to say.
No,
okay.
I'm giving them no ammunition for me.
Not today.
Ever. They always want ammunition on me. But I was like,
because you're so perfect. It's hard to find things, right?
well, they're always like, Cyrus, you don't ever tell us about who you're dating or anything. I said, there's a reason for that.
Really?
Yeah. I'm very private where that's concerned.
Well, last question before we get into a little bit of that. What about, is it coachable or not if the guy doesn't know anything about the pageant world?
Coachable.
That's coachable.
Yeah, remember what I said earlier? You just have to educate them. Some boys are, I don't want to say they have an adverse reaction to pageants. They just had all brothers. Or mom may have been an athlete and not a beauty queen. And so I tell the girls, you just have to educate them on not only what it is you're doing, but why this is important to you. And listen, I never knock a girl bringing her boyfriend to class, because then they actually get to see the work that the girls are putting into it. And they're sitting there going, I would never be able to do this. Especially when it comes to like we're practicing on stage question and stuff like that. You got 15-year-olds now who can stand on. I think I was still eating dirt when I was 15, and these girls are standing there in high heels and evening gowns, talking about why teachers and students shouldn't be on each other's social media and why bullying is such a big problem in public schools and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't even remember what I did.
Yeah.
Like, how are you doing this?
That is a lot for a teenager.
But I'm also, one of the reasons that I'm passionate about what I do also is because I get to be a part of that journey with them. You know, and I posted a little meme the other day, and it was a little girl that was 7 years old, and now she's 17, and we recreated a photo from 10 years ago, and I always post them together, and I put from baby to beauty.
I saw that.
Yeah, and people are just like, oh my God, Cyrus, you really grow up with them. Yeah, it's not like we do a one and done. I will be as much a part of their life as they want me to do. I tell everybody, I'm so excited on prom season when girls will send me a picture of them headed out on prom night, and they're just like, look, this is what I look like on prom night, or they send me a graduation invitation, or or a wedding invitation or something like that, because it reminds me that I meant something to them, that I had some type of impact on their life.
Oh, I bet they can't wait to share those photos with you,
yeah, they
because
do.
you really are part of their life, and you truly have grown up with them. I saw that picture from baby to
that little sassy girl standing there with her little
girl.
hands on her hips, and here she is now being 17,
Wow.
17 years old.
That's unbelievable.
You know.
And yeah, you're definitely a rock star. Everyone knows. Everyone knows it. So you're private about your dating, you said. So you really don't talk, even though you're so close with these people, you really don't like to talk about it?
There's people that I talk to about that. You know what I mean? I would want something to be substantial before,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because the thing about it is, well, first of all, I can only be as private as I can be being who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that scares a lot of people. Like, I went out with somebody, if I can tell the story really quickly. I went out with somebody, and I found out that I thought we were hitting it off and everything. And then I found out they were very closeted. Well, that isn't going to work with me, because you're going to get drug out on the Rainbow Highway with me. Because
exactly. That's never going to work.
It's never going to be a secret. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not moving to a town of circa 11 people,
Right. And I know here, I'm from New York, but I know that in South Carolina, it's not, I guess maybe there's certain areas that they feel like they can't come out.
Right.
So I could see that, but that's not someone that would just be for you.
And 10 years ago, I would never have this conversation on a podcast.
Wow.
I feel like our society is evolving also. We still have a long way to go, but I'm confident in who I am, and I am who I am. And I had a situation not long ago in class when I had a little girl turn to me, 8. She turned to me and she said, Mr. Cyrus, do you have a boyfriend? And so I looked at the mom, because I never want to be that person that ever, some people are just going to be like, I'm just going to blast it. Okay, she's 8.
Yeah.
And so I looked at the mom, and she said, oh, we're very open about things in our class. And I said, no, sugar, I don't right now. And she said, well, my uncle does. And then went right back to modeling in class and doing her thing. But you know what? 10 years ago, kids would never have mentioned anything like that in class. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. I don't run from who I am. And, and I've been in enough publications now that, Corey and I actually when we got married, our wedding was featured in a magazine.
Really?
So, yes, like, you can't hide from any of that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I need somebody who isn't closeted, or who doesn't mind being in the spotlight,
right?
For lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Because that's just kind of the way it is. That's kind of the way it is.
So you're not in a relationship right now?
Nope.
Do you want to be in one?
That's interesting. Somebody asked me that the other day. They're like, do you want to be married again? And I was like, well, when I got divorced, I realized that I'd spent half my life in relationships, because my first relationship was more, back then marriage wasn't legal. So we had like a soul marriage, but we were together for 15 years. And then that came to an end. And then I had a couple of relationships. One was like a year, one was like a year and a half. And then the show came along, and that monopolized all of my time. And then I met Corey through a mutual friend. And so we were married. So that's the first time that I was legit married, where it was on paper, and, we had the wedding and all that kind of stuff. So now I've enjoyed being single. I really have.
Yeah.
Just trying to rediscover who I am at this chapter in my life, because, 12 years ago, I did not expect to be single at my age. You know, I expected to be still building this relationship and stuff like that. And like I said, I don't regret any of that. Every relationship that I've had, whether it's been a close friendship or whether it was a relationship has really built the person that I am. I hate to hear people go, oh, I hate this person, or I hate my ex, or I hate that friend. I'm like, yeah, but despite the fact y'all aren't on good terms right now, they're part of who you are and how you became the person
Right.
you are.
We learn from all those relationships.
Yeah. And I mean, even a bad relationship is like learning not to put your hand on a hot stove.
Yeah.
You know, won't do that again.
Yeah. And sometimes we have to learn the hard way.
Yes.
That's just how life is.
Yes.
For
but
sure.
But to answer your question, yes, I ultimately want to be in a relationship, but I don't want to I definitely don't have to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, I have those friends too.
I see you're good being alone.
Yeah.
You're so much fun, so I could only imagine.
I don't mind. I do enjoy dating because I enjoy going out and seeing people and stuff like that. But then it's weird when you go out and the person, like going back to what we said earlier, you know, in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, you're clearly not the person you presented yourself to be. And now I'm stuck at dinner with you.
Right.
You know.
What a nightmare.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, just being single now and having that time to yourself, I definitely know what that's like. And I really have been loving it. And you just find your self-worth again and just build more about yourself.
And like I said, this is a whole new chapter in my life. And I want to be really secure in who I am and where I'm going and what direction I'm. See, a lot of people that are my age are, you know, they're approaching retirement and they want to do all of this. And they're already talking about this, you know, we're going to retire and blah. I'm like, why? Why are you going to retire? To sit at home and do what?
Yeah.
You know, and I also don't want a relationship where I'm sitting at home watching football, drinking beer all day.
Right.
That's never going to be me either. You know. I got to be out doing things.
I see you, always doing
You don't
things.
have to, you can be in a relationship with me and not have to go and do everything we do, but you also they have to understand this is what and I like my job. That's why I created Gowns and Crowns, is because I wanted to work for myself and I was very passionate about doing this. So I enjoy going to work every day. I don't hate going to work, and I work almost every weekend because I'll go out with my friends and I turn into a pumpkin at midnight and they're still wanting to go to 2 a.m. and they're like, you need another job where you can be off on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm like, I actually like my job.
Isn't that wonderful? I know what that's like. And you really don't feel like you're going to work.
No.
Yeah.
And some nights, you know, I'll be in class and some classes take a little bit longer than others and I'll get out later than I was supposed to, and it doesn't bother me. I leave happy. They leave happy. I leave happy. That's
wonderful.
You know, that's all that matters.
And yeah, I wanted to just wrap up with some questions about just some success stories with Gowns and Crowns, if you wanted to talk about that.
You know, when it comes to success stories, so I define, if you read my my taglines on a lot of things, one of them says 3,000 success stories and counting. Notice it doesn't say 3,000 crowns. Now, we have 3,000 crowns, but we have 3,000 success stories because not every success story came with a crown. Caitlyn was proof of that. Yeah. She didn't win Miss Teen USA, but it made her famous. And it gave her the opportunity to do things that she would never have done had she won Miss Teen USA. We've had a Miss America. We've had 2 Miss Teen USAs. We had Miss America's Teen. You know, I could list all day the winners that we've had, but my success to me comes, I never wanted to be Miss Anybody. I think I said this in another podcast. I never wanted to be Miss Anybody, but I enjoy helping girls facilitate their hopes and dreams through a platform called Pageantry. And it teaches them all these wonderful skills, from showcasing their talent to learning to talk in public, to learning to talk on stage, learning how to dress and how to present themselves. And, you know, they have to do these things called CSIs, which are community service initiatives. And they're learning to do community service, especially now. Community service isn't a big deal to people like it was 20 years ago. And so you're having to teach girls the importance of have a voice and have a platform. And you're doing all of these things. So that's the biggest success that comes out of for me, is that I get to help facilitate their dreams. I think the success for them is whether they win or not, or what they gain from it. Because like I told you earlier, I mentioned Tess, she's traveling the country right now, being Miss America's Teen, traveling around with Miss America, you know, living out her best life until this comes to an end and she goes to college. So that's where the success, but like I said, I could list, another success for me was I got to have my own reality show, which I thought was amazing, which led to 2 other reality shows, and I've had all of these jobs. I had a lot of jobs growing up from high school and through college. And when I was in radio, I had some other odd jobs that were with radio, but I felt like everything that I did led to me doing what I'm doing right now. It's like I could apply, like I worked in the bridal business for 3 years. Well, it taught me a lot about clothing and fabrics and how things work and how you put things together. Not every pageant coach can offer you that. Like we can do everything. We can do it. Like some pageant coaches, I'm like, well, some are iffy, but some are like really good at interview, or some are really good at walking, or some are really good, because I can tear up a runway on my own. I can do that.
I want to see.
Yeah, I can teach a girl how to walk on stage, and they'll all tell you that. And once I walk for them or do something for them, they're like, I'm glad I don't have to compete against you. Yeah. And I don't have to do it in heels. That's the number one question that I always get asked when I go on show. They're like, do you teach girls in heels? And
that's a good question.
But I don't have to. I don't have to. I could, and I can. I just don't have to. TLC, I even had to agree in writing for my show that if they asked me to teach a class in heels, that I would do that. I never had to do it. They were like, "No, you're quite enough without.
Yeah,
we don't have to add."
They thought they would need that.
Yeah, we don't have to throw heels into this pot to make something out of it.
Yeah, we got enough here.
Yeah,
how beautiful that you really catapult these girls' dreams, and they become more than they probably ever thought they would be because of all of your help.
Absolutely. When you see, and to me, I know how I feel when I see them perform. So I know how their parents, must feel. Last year for my birthday, one of my clients, one of my little girls gave me a shirt that says Pageant Dad on it.
Oh, I love that.
And y'all, and this is a true story too. I get a bunch of Father's Day cards on Father's Day from my students.
Because they're all your girls.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so sweet.
Yeah. And they're just like, you're like my second dad, or you're like this. And one year it was really nice. There was a girl that had won a national pageant, and it was time for her to give up her crown. And because of her dad's job, he was not able to escort her out in her final moments. And she asked if I would come and escort her out. And so it's little things like that make, is it a job that's going to make me a billionaire? No, but it gives me a comfortable life, and it gives me something that I enjoy doing. And then we keep growing these other things out of it, I want another TV show. I would love to have another TV show.
What would it be called?
I don't know. I would like a reboot of my show, because I think we could probably do I think we did great for what we had to work with then, but I've evolved so much as a person and as a coach in 10 years. I think we could offer a lot more, but I don't know. I was with a talent agency for a long time, so I was in commercial work and things like that. So when Discovery Entertainment first came to, or High Five Productions came, they were like, "You're very comfortable in front of it's obvious you're comfortable in front of a camera," but that's because I had already been doing that. Yeah. Now, the one thing that my friends thought was interesting when I decided to do a reality show is it isn't scripted. Ours was not scripted. You and I talked about this on the phone. I know some are. I'm not stupid.
Yeah,
some
you can tell, but
mine was not scripted. And I'm much more of a scripted person. I want to be told what to say and stuff like if I'm acting or doing, I would rather somebody give me a script and me learn a script than have to get out there and make it up on my own. But they were like, "You're really going to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And nothing. And like I said, nothing was scripted. Now, I learned some very valuable lessons when I did the reality show, that you'd have no control over. But being comfortable in front of the camera and not being scripted was not a problem, because I was being me.
Yeah. And so much has evolved just with now streaming TV that I could easily see a reboot on Netflix or Hulu.
Right.
One of them.
We just need somebody to stumble across. Pageants are bigger. People, I do get asked a lot if pageants are still relevant. Absolutely.
Of course.
If you Google it, pageants are like a $5 to $6 billion a year industry. They're going to be relevant as long as somebody's making money doing them. And it is what it is. Yeah. And people are like, "Oh, I can't believe that girls want to do pageants this day and age." And I'm like, "Well, I can't believe boys want to play football this day and age." That's my answer to that. It's just, and why do you care how these girls facilitate their goals. People are going to, but they're like, why is it relevant? Why is it relevant? And it's relevant because it offers them scholarship, and it offers them prizes, and it offers them money, and it offers them experience at such a young age. They're learning things that most people don't learn until their first job.
Public speaking. There's so many other facets of it.
Yeah. Public speaking is still, that one's squirrely for me. I can do it. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I can. But I would rather stand in front of 1,000 people than 10 people.
So you would rather catwalk?
Yes.
You could catwalk easily in front of
but I know
of
I'll
people.
talk in front of people. I don't mind, I don't mind public speaking. But like I said, I would rather talk to a room full of 1,000 people than have to talk to just 10 people sitting in front of me. That makes me it makes me uncomfortable.
I can see that.
Yeah, I don't know why, because I don't have a problem talking, but it's like,
Oh, is that how it is?
yeah. Well, they're all, you just have 10 people looking at you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That can be
especially
more
when they
intimidating.
give you nothing.
Because when you see thousands of people when you're on stage, you really can't see them.
No.
The lights are bright.
Yeah.
You can't really see their faces. So it's a little more
But when you
intimidating.
see somebody and they're looking at you
Yeah.
and they're just, you're not, it's like that.
Yeah, like this. Of course.
Yes. Or if they act bored
Yeah.
or something like that. So, yeah. But going back to what you originally asked, when you talk about the success, what are our biggest successes? It's like I said, the fact that we were able to open a studio 20 years ago and keep it running full time. I do this full time. Yeah. I get asked that. I'm great at a dinner party because you always get that one random person that are like, you really make a living doing that?
Really? Someone would ask that.
Oh, I get asked that a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. I get asked the weirdest thing. First of all, even my assistant, when he will back me up on this. I get asked the most bizarre. People feel like they can ask me anything.
Because you do give that aura that you're an open book. You just
But then
vibe.
there's just, I'm like, I don't know why you asked me that, but
Yeah,
I'll try to give
shame.
you the best. I'll try. Are you trying to gaslight me? I'm not trying to, but you know what I mean? I wish I could think of an example, but sometimes I'm always there and we'll be having a conversation and they'll pull the most random thing. And they're like, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Okay, why would you? I have no idea why you would even ask me that.
Yeah, like it's been burning in them for a while.
Yes. but like I said, the success for me is watching the girls be successful and seeing anybody be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just never one of those people that are jealous of somebody else's success, or I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I've been. Sometimes you're like, oh, I wish that could be me, but I don't hate the person that it's happening. That it's
Jealousy is very different
but I don't hate that that's happening to another person. Oh yeah, I was an adult when I got my reality show, and I thought everybody in the world would embrace me because I had a reality show that was I learned that was the toughest lesson that I learned.
I can't believe you just said that. I understand that
Because
very
you did
well.
a reality show
Yeah.
also.
And there are people that, want to be social climbers and just hang out with you because you're on TV and being invited to events. And in the reality TV world,
Yes.
there are a lot of those, especially.
Right. And I did get invited. I was very grateful for everything that I got invited to, but I was more disappointed in my close group of friends and how some of them reacted and treated me differently, like because they were like, oh, now you think you're something or this, that, and yeah. I literally, dude, I'm the same person I was going into this. Now there's just a version, and that's the other thing too. Yes, that's me on TV, but that's a version of me on TV.
Yeah.
You know who I.
Right.
Now you're too good for us, or you're too that because miss a birthday party after you've been on TV. Miss a birthday party.
You're just too busy.
Yeah, I was like, no, literally, I had to have that appendix removed.
Sorry.
But you get what I'm talking. But you get what I'm talking about.
Course.
It just takes you in a completely different. Well, and the girls I know the girls feel it when they win a big pageant because they go back wanting everybody to embrace them, and a lot of their friends don't. Especially when you win a school pageant.
Yeah.
Listen, school pageants are the biggest deal here in South Carolina. That is a big deal. Winning, that's bragging rights. You had a panel of judges, not your friends pick you. You get to be queen of the school. And listen, there are going to be girls there. They're going to hate that.
Of course.
And they make it known. And they make it known.
But, then you just weed out those friends earlier on.
You're right.
That's all.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. I want people to, when I see somebody do something really, really great, I try to make, out of my friend group, I try to text them or inbox them or something and say congratulations or that's such a, because I know how I felt when my show came out and it was crickets with a lot of the people that I thought
That's so
it
sweet.
should
Yeah,
have
when my
been.
first podcast episode came out, you congratulated me.
Yes, because that's what you're supposed. Listen, my mama raised me right. Listen,
Really, I mean, there's a lot of people that never even said anything to me, so that's really nice.
I know, right? But then they want to talk to you when they think it is going to benefit them.
Right.
So anyway, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but
No,
that's a
but
thing.
that really
But that's a
answered
thing.
it.
But that's also tied into pageantry too, because like I said, when a girl wins, they're very busy. They don't have time for their friends. They don't have time for their boyfriend, and everybody gets their knickers in a twist. And I'm like, y'all, this is 365 days. This only happens to one girl a year.
Yeah.
Let them have their moment. Maybe that's what I should teach classes on for family and friends, on how you should act and how you handle when the person in your life becomes Miss America or becomes Miss USA.
It's not coaching for the beauty queens.
It's coaching for how
beauty
to
queens, boyfriends, parents.
Now, all the girls have told me that I should do a class for the boyfriends. They've all talked about.
If you do, you got to invite me and we'll bring the cameras there.
Yeah, so we could do that because I think that would be funny. I would
That
want them
would.
to ask questions, which I think would be hysterical.
Please, I need to be there.
I think that would be so funny. Boyfriend boot camp. We can do that. We could probably make that happen. We could do boyfriend boot camp.
Yeah, that's a show.
That is really, what happens to the boyfriend after the girl wins? Well, sometimes they get kicked to the curb because I witnessed that. I was like, oh. I was like, I'm not so sure I like this version of you in a crown.
Well, my last question was just, what do you have coming up? Is there anything that you'd love to tell the viewers?
I say this every time, and I am working on it, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of sitting down. I'm working on a book. It's called, it was kind of like a workbook, but it's called, right now the working title it's called Does Big Hair Win? A Teenage Girl's Guide to Being in a Beauty Pageant. And so it's kind of like a book that will guide the girl that's just starting out, or there'll be a lot in there for things for girls who have, that are doing pageants also. So that's something that's in the works that I definitely want this year. I want that to unfold and become a completed project. I do have my own podcast called the Gowns and Crowns podcast that Amanda is another, she's our senior instructor, but Amanda did pageants for 22 years. And I was her only coach through that whole process, and she won her school pageant and she won her college pageant, and she was Miss Sun Fun and she was Miss South Carolina USA. She was first runner-up to Miss USA. She was homecoming queen. Then she won Miss Earth. Then she won the national pageant, and then she made top 16 at the international pageant. So and then she ended her career with Mrs. Galaxy. So, and her husband was there. He went.
Look how full circle that is. Now she's
I
married,
I have to give her husband, because I weathered all the boyfriends with her, and then she got married and still did pageants.
Yeah. So you saw how supportive he was.
And he was, Brian is a trooper. He is a saint when it comes to all of that, because he was, I can say this because it was really funny. We were at a charity event one time, and me and Amanda and some other girls were there, and some of the husbands were there. And I was doing this silent auction. So I ran up to Amanda. I was like, blah, 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 just doing what I normally do. And the guy standing next to Brian, and he was like, who is that all over your wife? And he said, well, that's her pageant coach. He goes, you really should get one, because he goes to all the stuff I don't have to. So, but he's always been supportive, and he's never, to my knowledge, my friendship with her has never been a problem for him, and that he deserves a crown or a banner for being that type of person. Even when we had a cast in our show. It wasn't just me. I had 3 other cast members that worked for me, and they afforded them the opportunity to be a part of the show. And he never batted an eye, because we basically, I don't know how your experience was, but we were locked down for 4 months. We really weren't allowed to go anywhere, do anything. Now, she was able to go home, but we spent our whole days filming, very little free time, any of that kind of stuff. So I actually taught on the one day we were off. So I filmed for 6 days, taught for 1 day. So
it was busy.
It was a long 4 months. Yeah, because I had to keep the business going.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, the girls that were filming, we were teaching too. So, but they were under the scrutiny of the spotlight. also.
Yeah.
So we have, I'm trying to make it my goal to complete this book. We have our own podcast, which, you're in the beginning stages, you're building numbers and
Yeah.
you're doing that. I'm back to judging again. I've already judged one high school pageant this year, but I'm lined up for 4 more. I'd kind of taken a break from judging because it was hard for people to ask me because I work with so many girls. It was hard. If I know somebody, I won't judge it.
That's true. Because
It's
you know so many
different if
people.
I didn't work with them and I know of them. And then there's some girls who have such a big pageant reputation that I wouldn't want to judge them because I know them by reputation. You have some people who are like, oh, I can do that. Yeah, no, you can't. Every
Yeah.
girl deserves a fair shot in a pageant. People always ask me what my favorite pageant is. And I'm like I said, I never wanted to be anybody, not miss anybody. It's just as important to me to get a girl ready for a high school pageant as it is to get somebody ready for Miss USA because the process is the same. There's no shortcut. But my favorite pageant is where my girls can win fairly and lose fairly. That's what I want. I want a fair judges panel. I want a fair director running. I just want it to be fair. I want it to be fair.
Well, I can only imagine if you were a judge and you know them how that could be harder. So, but I could see you being amazing as a judge.
I think at first they're intimidated because they know they can't BS me, especially in interview. But also I try to give them warmth and friendliness. And, I try to give them what they're giving. You have some judges that sit there like a knot on a log. And I'm like, can't you at least show some emotion? These kids are like, they're like competing for their life, and you're sitting there like you would rather be on another planet than sitting here. But not every person's the same. Yeah. But you know what? That's another learning lesson. You have 3 or 4 judges, and every one of them has a different personality, and you're having a 5-minute interview where you're having to relate to all these different personalities, but not take on somebody's personality if they're not giving you something. Because it's easy when you're engaged with 3 people and you're like, well, why doesn't this person like me? Or why aren't they talking? Or why aren't, it may have nothing to do with you.
Right.
But you can't adopt that.
Yeah.
You can't adopt that. Another thing, like we mentioned at the beginning, we're about to celebrate our 20th anniversary of having a studio. Like I said, I've been in the business over 35 years because I started when I was in high school with pageants, and it was always a side hustle. But to have my own studio and to have my own place where girls can come and play pageant is just so rewarding, and it's so great. And then at the end of the year, we'll celebrate our 15th anniversary of actually having had a TV show.
How exciting.
So,
what a perfect time for a reboot.
Yes, that's what, yes. So anybody out there, listen, call us.
Yeah,
Call
tell
us.
everyone where they can
We'll put
find
you in a pageant. You could be one of the episodes.
Really?
We could put you
I always wanted to be a judge.
You could
But
be,
who am I to judge?
I can help you do
But I
that.
could be a host.
You could be a great host.
I'd be the host.
Yeah, you'd be a great host, but you could be in a pageant too. You're beautiful.
Oh.
And you're so well spoken.
Thank you. I'm 5'2".
Yeah, but not every pageant's looking for somebody 6'5".
Oh, okay.
I get asked that a lot too. They're like, is there a pageant for everybody? There really is.
Wow.
Yeah, there really is.
Look at that. See?
I tell people, there's a difference between sitting here and saying there's a pageant for everybody and saying that every girl can win a pageant. That's 2 different things.
Right. If you have the drive, like I'm someone that if I did get into pageants, I would make sure I
You'd give it
win, and
100%.
I'd give it 100% for sure.
But not every girl is in the right system to win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and someone like you on their side.
Yeah. You have to help them find the right system.
Right.
And a lot of people, like I told you, the one thing I learned on my press tour is the American public, if they see a girl with a crown, they automatically think they're Miss America. They don't know the difference between all the systems and everything. Whether they're 5 with a crown or 25 with a crown, they're like, oh, they're Miss America, right?
That has to be right.
Yeah, yeah, you're close. At least you recognize that they were a beauty queen. At least
Right. Well, yeah, and I didn't even realize there was a Mrs. and all
there's
that.
a Ms., there's an elite. Elite is for older women. A lot of some of the older women. But now you've got, I don't even know what older is anymore because people don't look their age anymore.
Yeah, don't guess mine.
Or mine. Now that's the thing about doing a reality show. Now your age is tagged to
You can find out.
What is it? Wikipedia? I'm like, Wikipedia, you suck. Take my age off.
I know.
There.
Can we edit that?
Yeah, can we take that off? Mine's backwards. I just want you to know. Mine's an edit.
Yeah, mine too.
Mine is an edit.
Mine too.
Mine is backwards.
We'll let everyone know, and you can talk in that camera where everyone can find you on social media.
Okay.
All the things.
Yes, we have everything. So we have TikTok, and we have Instagram, and we have Facebook that is under my name, Cyrus Frakes. So you can look us up, give us a follow. But we also have an Instagram that is designated just for our girls, and it's called the Gowns and Crowns Academy. And so we have tons and tons of followers. You can follow our success. I post every day. I post the girls working in class. I'm getting better. I just found somebody, one of my clients, she was like, it's really funny when these younger girls are like, Mr. Cyrus, I can help you be better on TikTok.
Yeah, sometimes you need it.
Yeah, because I need, first of all, I need to hire a 12-year-old to run all of my electronics for me, because I can't. I was like, I know I'm terrible at TikTok. They were like, you really are. And so they've agreed to help me figure out how to be better on TikTok. But I've mastered Facebook, and I've mastered, I think, Instagram, and it's good. And like I said, we put our success out there. And, I think a lot of people, even if people don't like pageants, I think they can look at my social media and they can say, okay, this dude's really doing something. It has to be doing something for these girls. And if you want to see old episodes of The King of the Crown, we are on Hulu, we are on Amazon Prime, we are on iTunes, believe it or not.
Look at that.
Yep, we're on iTunes, and we are on TLC to go. Means you can find it on the app.
Wow.
Yeah. And because I was an older adult when the show filmed, I look basically the same. So all the girls have grown up.
Wow.
That's an interesting thing. I want to do a podcast where we talk about the girls who did our show and where they are now. Yeah. Because that's a very interesting thing to watch how their lives panned out.
Oh, I bet. That's so exciting. Well, everyone follow Cyrus. You're going to love him. I know you enjoyed listening to him. He is hilarious and just so lovable. So thank you for watching and tuning into this episode of Love Amanda. Definitely subscribe on YouTube, and you can listen on all audio platforms. Thank you for watching Love Amanda.